the sole purpose of this is to get a golfer who traditionally would early release or cast the club and sort of suffer from a scoopy, high dynamic loft type of impact to start to feel more compression by getting their hands to win the race to the finish line.
Hey guys, before we dive into today's video, there's 1 day left to sign up at CogornoGolf.com and automatically be entered for a chance to win a 1-day private, one-on-one, just you and me, golf school. So anyone who enters, joins CogornoGolf.com today, Wednesday, and tomorrow, Thursday, by 12 p.m., by midnight Eastern Standard Time, automatically gets entered to win the free school. So if you want to come hang out for a day, improve your golf game, and still get all the membership benefits at CogornoGolf.com, you get the online lessons, the community, the videos, the practice plans. You're going to absolutely love it. I think it's a killer opportunity we may never offer again. Tomorrow night, 12 p.m. We'll put the link in the description down below, CogornoGolf.com to sign up. Hey guys, Eric here out at the Bethlehem Golf Club. In today, we've got another special, never before seen on the channel drill, the finish line drill. To my right here, Mr. Ryan Hager. If you haven't seen him in our videos before, awesome golf coach, Plainfield Country Club, right in New Jersey, was just recently named the PGA Teacher of the Year in the state of New Jersey. That's a pretty freaking big deal. Golf Digest, Best Young Coach. Awesome Instagram. That's where I saw Ryan for the first time. We'll put the Instagram on the screen, put all of Ryan's info down below if you want to reach out. Super cool. So, A, thank you for being here again.
Thank you for having me.
B, finish line drill. So I saw this one on your Instagram, a version of it. So I wanted to do a video, obviously, for us to expand upon it. So let's talk about what this is. What do we have set up? What's the reason for it? And then how do we do it?
Yeah, so much easier to set up if you're on a grass range. We've had to sort of rig this together.
Side note, it took us like 10 minutes. Right? You're trying to figure out how to set something up.
For the sake of video quality, it might not need to look like this when you're practicing.
Yeah.
If you can find a range basket and prop the ball up, or I'm sorry, prop the stick up just outside of the golf ball, that'll work fine. But the basic premise here is that I will sometimes couple this with a spray painted line right underneath the golf ball, so that it's sort of a three-dimensional finish line. And the sole purpose of this is to get a golfer who traditionally would early release or cast the club and sort of suffer from a scoopy, high dynamic loft type of impact to start to feel more compression by getting their hands to win the race to the finish line.
And so when you set this up from the face-on angle, can you take a set up there, Ryan?
Yes, sir.
That, so the stick's just basically right in line with the golf ball, right? Just kind of straight in line with it.
Yep.
And then, you know, a couple inches outside.
Yeah, you could have it as close as, you know,
That's
an
true.
inch or so away from the club head. It's as long as, I would say, as long as it's in the golfer's peripheral vision, it'll have some sort of external sort of cue for them.
And then if you can, let's take your setup again. And so from your perspective and the camera perspective, show us the good with the hands ahead, club head behind for a second. Yeah, so like that's such a good visual. I just want to get a look from there. And then the bad version. Yeah. So not only from the camera perspective with this in line, but then from your own like point of view, you should be able to see those differences quite clearly.
Very,
right?
Yeah.
Even just first to get an understanding of like, where am I supposed to be at impact, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, with the clubs that are laying on the ground, I think a helpful visual can come from that as well. If you look at, you know, the 3D studies that are happening now with kind of the biomechanics of the swing and things like that, and you look at the top players and how they're measured on things like gears and systems like that, the typical finding is that a tour pro with a mid or short iron is going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 18 degrees of shaft lean, and that's about a grip length from where sort of straight up and down would be.
Oh, that's cool.
So with these clubs laying on the ground, I'm essentially trying to get my hands as far forward as the front of the grip that's ahead of the golf ball there.
There's so many little nuggets I want to unpack here. Can we take your setup one more time? That's such a good little nut. So like relative to the shaft being straight up and down, you're saying roughly a grip forward would be what that impact position would look like. So we kind of measured that back to straight up and down vertical. Oh, what an awesome visual. So then from there, you know, you're talking hands kind of in line with the lead leg-ish, over the foot-ish.
You know, your top, sort of, the guys who squish the golf ball.
Yeah.
Dustin Johnson.
Eric Cogorno.
Eric Cogorno, Ryan Hager,
Yeah.
Victor Hovland, Cameron Champ. The players who create a lot of shaft lean hit the ball really far. And the reason's not just because of club speed. They also have very high club speeds. But if Joe Schmo, who does not lean the club shaft, swings a 7-iron 100 miles an hour, and then Dustin Johnson swings it 100 miles an hour, DJ's going to hit it past him. And that's because of a lower dynamic loft angle at the moment the club touches the ball.
And so this compression we're looking for, that ball flying off the face, right? The mash in it. Step one of learning how to do that is this shaft lean, right? Impact, at least an awareness.
Yes.
At least an awareness.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think rehearsing, I spend a lot of time with students just rehearsing this.
Yeah.
I think you kind of would benefit from knowing, like, all right, to get to a really high quality impact position, I need some flex in the lead wrist, a little extension in the trail wrist, slight fold to the trail arm, a little openness to the rib cage, a lot of openness to the pelvis, fairly straight left leg, slightly bent right leg. I'm kind of like doing a check of all my body parts as I get into that high quality position versus, I don't even know how to, you know, this versus
version.
Like a much taller spine angle, very extended arms, sort of maybe a little extension to the lead wrist, things like that.
So if let's take your setup one more time. I just want to give this extra visual. Now, what club do you have there, Ryan?
This is a 7-iron.
7-iron. So let's just say whatever amount of loft we have there, if that shaft is straight up and down and has just a neutral 7-iron loft, now we move that a gripish forward from straight up and down, you've now effectively turned that into a 9-iron, or whatever the case may be. I don't know the exact numbers of it.
But the other way, like a 4-iron.
A 4-iron,
Right,
9-iron wouldn't work. What the hell? So
This way.
you would be adjusting like 2 clubs, right? A club or 2 from there. So that dynamic loft difference, and then, you know, the second thing I find, I'm interested if you do, when I have someone pose an impact who normally has a poor impact, rarely do they know where to get to. Like it's so foreign. If I say, hey, show me, you said Joe Schmo is who you're teaching. Let's say Joe's up there, you say, hey, show me a good impact. They wouldn't really know what to do.
A lot of times I think people kind of know, I need my hands forwards, I need my hands forwards. And then you say, show me what impact would look like, and they go like this.
Yeah, okay.
Right, there's a lot of things wrong with that.
Yep.
That's like the hands forwards for the sake of the hands being forwards. Gotcha. And that would open up the club face quite a bit, probably introduce the hosel. Like, that's not great. It's not solely that your hands are over here. It's, you know, that's more of a byproduct of, you know, rotation, some better wrist angles, proper sort of shift to the lead side, things like that.
Got it. So let's say you were going to work with someone through this. You're giving them a lesson. They say, hey, clearly they throw or cast early. Clearly they need to get the handle forward, and you're just kind of starting the process without us knowing for that golfer maybe what they're doing earlier to cause it, and you were going to start the process with them. What would that look like?
I would start by giving them a pretty clear diagnosis of where that comes from, because it's not the same for everybody. Like you said, it's kind of different for a lot of golfers. The main causes for sort of an early release, one might just be someone trying to create power. I think, you know, you wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, eat your meal, text, drive a car, it's like you use your hands and wrists for so much of your everyday life. Why wouldn't you use them to hit a golf ball? And I think it can come from that a little bit. Oftentimes I think casting is happening because the club face is open and someone's trying to close it. That's probably the biggest reason for sort of that early throw. And then another one could be loss of posture. I think those are the general 3, is you're trying to create club speed, you're trying to close an open face, or you're too tall and you're just trying to get to the ground.
So when I see those same things, I mean, I always say a lot, and they're like, yeah, dude, the club face has got to be over half.
Yeah.
you know, conservatively.
Yep.
So let's say we're going to start and we're going to hit some of them. And would you have them do some like impact poses or shorter swings to eliminate some of those
Tons
variables?
of short swings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We might even sort of start a swing or two from right here.
Yeah.
You know, where you feel all the pieces, you make sure that it's correct to start, and you just hit some shorter shots, you know, like that. I would then transition that to the same swing length and speed, but starting from normal, and try to get that person to feel what it's like to start setting their wrists differently, to create some speed with sort of their body from a rotational and a pressure shifting perspective.
Yeah.
And then build the swing from there.
Let's do that one more time if we can. And so all the while they're doing that from a visual perspective and they're posing the impact, they can be aware of the handle being forward. Again, maybe this is closer.
Absolutely.
The handle being forward of the stick.
Yep.
And then the club head being a little bit behind
Feeling
it.
a lot of that.
Yeah.
Back, and then trying to, return. And essentially you should be, you know, if this is a problem for you, we were speaking about this in an earlier video, you need to be trying to win that race by a lot. You know, we're just discussing a grip length. It should feel like 10 grip lengths.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like it should feel fairly extreme. It might not make you hit the ball incredibly well. You'll probably hit it a little thin.
Yeah.
But you'd start to get that sensation of what it's like to get some flexion in the lead wrist, to start sort of rotating your body at a higher rate of speed.
Over-exaggerate.
Yeah.
Over-exaggerate.
You kind of have to suffer through it for a little bit, maybe.
And it's one of the things, could do a couple more demonstrations. It's one of the things that I always find interesting, where if someone is kind of worried about the handle being too far forward, like what a nice problem it would be to have too much shaft lean for the majority of golfers.
Yeah,
right?
I taught 1,714 lessons last year. I did not meet a single person with too much shaft lean.
Right, okay, good.
It's just, it's like not a problem
Unicorn.
that people have.
Yeah. It's one of those things that comes up in conversation where like, you know, someone will be worried about that and I'm like, man, that's you like, I don't want to do this. I might make $1 billion and have a lot of taxes. Like, no, dude, like get the billion, worry about the tax thing later on.
Right, exactly.
Too much shaft lean is such a rare freaking thing. So the point of that is like, gosh darn it, like be willing to exaggerate that piece in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And then working that into sort of a normal flow, you said of a half swing.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do one of those. And I just think hitting balls in the beginning, especially when you're learning to compress it, like having that stick as a visual, understanding where you're trying to go. We'll just use the grip length as an example. So where impact is, right? What do I need to feel to get to that impact? My goal is to get there so I can compress my irons, hit the ball more solid and farther. And then how do I slowly learn to push that into a full swing? And I would say, can you master that impact fix first? And then can you start to master the little half swing flow? And then can you master a 3/4 flow? And what I find a lot is the people who do less and slower early end up farther along when you fast forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 months.
Yep.
The players, I'm guilty of it for over a decade, who are like, give me that feel, Eric, I can do it at a chip length swing, but when I go full, it doesn't work right away. And I'm like, what day are you on? And they're like, 3. And I'm like, well, like how about 300, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's master it here and then slowly build it up like anything else we would do. Not to like get into a big learning discussion, but I just think as this drill is such a good example of if we would all just do this, maybe even as part of a warm up for someone who wants to increase
Absolutely.
it, right?
It's probably the best way to start your day.
Yeah.
If you're gonna focus on ball striking. Yeah.
And then just, I guess the only other little caveat that I want to throw in here with the club face piece you mentioned, because I think it would be almost unethical of us not to at least touch it. If I said, hey, maybe over half of the people who struggle with this face is too open, would you just be looking at like, all right, let's make sure the grip is on correctly, maybe checking the face early in the takeaway, something like that?
Yeah, it's one of those things where you look at things kind of in reverse of, you know, the problem is very clearly you're arriving at impact without enough shaft length. That's going to come from something that happened before, and I would look at the setup first, I would look at the takeaway second, I'd look at the second half of the backswing third, transition and then
Just kind of go right in order
yeah,
from the
you
starting
go in the
position.
order that things happen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
love it. Beautiful.
So grip would be the first thing. Like you said, the takeaway. Those two are usually where you find some kind of clue as to why it's happening.
Yeah, and I would say just as you guys are doing this drill and you're going through it, like if you can check the grip and even just make sure the toe's in front of the heel during the takeaway, as you're doing that little half swing drill, like that would be such a lovely place to start to fix a lot of issues that come later
For
on.
sure. And I think one thing for people to know watching this is if you're suddenly aware that your club face is open either because of your grip or because it's open here, and then you change that, it's very likely the first couple swings you're not just instantly going to get here. You're still going to have some of that early release, but now the ball is going to go way to the left.
Great point.
Right?
Yep.
And so one of the ways to kind of square, you're arriving with the face like this. Now if you get your hands in front, generally the face is going to start to square up. So there's going to, maybe be that early phase of like, holy cow, that's not even close to where I was trying to go.
Ryan, I'm pull hooking it. What's going on?
Yeah, it's the same as the diagnosis. If you're going to fix the takeaway, you got to fix the takeaway and spend some time on that before you learn what the impact would feel like.
Brilliant point. And I think part of that is like, put those pieces in. If that's true, then the fix for those couple balls you'd hit left would be to learn to get the handle location to fix that. Like if you can put pieces in that motivate the good movements, the odds of your brain doing that are very high.
Absolutely.
Right? That's a great point. You're gonna see some lefts go. Awesome, as always. I love this drill as a visual. It's another one of those things where 99.99999% of golfers could do this in perpetuity and it would only help, not hurt. Shaft lean compression irons. If you guys liked this video, we're gonna put another card on the screen, similar style video. We'll also put a card for CogornoGolf.com. I'd love to see you there.